Hello everyone. Welcome. Oh, there it goes. It's like his stream element's acting up again. Welcome back to the... What am I saying? Welcome back to my stream. And welcome back to what is likely to be the finale stream of When the Night Comes. Last time we learned about what Harry had been doing the whole time. So we're gonna go ahead and continue with that and see where it takes us. So just for a little context, we just learned that Harry, our boss, August's boss as well, was the one behind the monster that was killing all the hunters, including Harry's husband. And of course, we condemned Harry, but so far he just left, and this is the conclusion of the conversation. August and I are back by ourselves. I don't know if Harry's still in the room. I think he left. I don't remember. I played this last. I do have the VOD up, but we're gonna go ahead and continue. August and I stand in stoic silence. The air is still heavy. Their hands are balled into fists at their side, and they take a deep breath before they move to take a seat at their desk. It's still raw, like an open wound, an exposed nerve, and it will be for a while. I don't quite know what to say or do, but I do know that I need to be there for them. I crouch down behind them, prying their hands away from their face, and I lace our fingers together. Reluctantly, they smile down at me, their eyes sad and red from crying. I know I can't say anything to make it better, but I want you to know I'm here for you. Always. Real quick, let me turn this up just a little bit more. Okay. August's smile brightens a little, and they squeeze my fingers. Having you by my side will keep me strong. Of that much, I'm sure. Let's give him a little kissy. I settle on my knees, leaning forward and tipping my head towards them. They smile, big, bright, beautiful, and they lean in to meet me halfway. Our lips brush, and I reach up to cup their cheek. They eagerly lean to my touch, their hair soft as it brushes my fingertips. I can feel them sinking into it like this desperately needed thing, like they need me to breathe life into their lungs. Reluctantly, we part, and August sighs, holding my hand against their face. I love you so. I stand, pressing a kiss to their cheek, their forehead. I love you too. And we should get some rest. I anticipate we won't get much of a chance in the coming days. August sighs heavily, their shoulders sinking as they slump in their chair. You're probably right. Let us go. I cannot bear to be here any longer. With that, we both stand, and August's hand lingers upon the door handle, their gaze long as they stare back into their empty office. I rest my hand against the small of their back, and their lips curl into a small smile at the contact. You'll be back, August. They frown, as if they don't quite believe me, but long to. Let us hope. We pass many an enforcer on the way out of headquarters, some gazing upon us with pity, others with disdain. August keeps their head down, eyes on the ground, but I make a point to keep my chin up and my head high. You will not defeat us. As we draw near to August's house, a familiar figure skids around the corner, her chest heaving. Fucking hell, you're both okay? I heard in the wolf he's back? Yes, he's back, and he's lost his damn mind, apparently. Piper raises her brow, her eyes flicking between us. Well, yeah, no shit. She withers under August's sharp gaze, her expression softening, her eyes falling to our joined hands. Are you really both okay? He didn't do anything other than prove to us just how guilty he is. August moves from foot to foot, restless, clearly longing for the comfort of their home. I squeeze their hand and offer them a gentle smile. Go ahead, I'll be right behind you. Let me get a drink real quick. August opens their mouth to protest, but my raised brow tells them I'm not about to argue. Very well, but don't be long. I won't. Their touch lingers as we release one another, and they rest their hand upon Piper's shoulder in passing, a gesture of comfort. We both watch them go, their strides slow, a shadow of the confident August we know and love. It physically hurts me not to follow them, but I must talk to Piper. She deserves to know. She looks at me with wide, hopeful eyes. What the hell happened in there? I guess let's build up to it. As much as I want to jump straight in and tell her about Aya, I can't bear the thought of hurting her. He's lost his mind. He confessed as though he's proud of what he's done. He even implied that he longs for me to join them, to become one of those things. I nod. I could have lied to him, gone along with it, but my conscience wouldn't let me. She did the right thing. I take a deep breath, knowing this blow will hurt, and already bracing myself for the impact of her response. I know that we had already suspected, but... Piper holds up a hand, her face twisted and angry. You don't have to say it. Then, her expression softens, melting into something sad. There's nothing we can do for her. I shake my head, and her hand falls back to her side, fingers curled into a tight fist, knuckles bleeding white. All we can do now is hope to put her out of whatever misery he's inflicted upon her. It will be a kindness. She looks right through me, a single tear trailing down her cheek. Very well. Piper, did you want to... I'll be fine. I should go. I reach out to her, gently taking her arm. We'll finish this, once and for all. Too fucking right we will. Go, see to your love. They need you more than I do. Oh, poor Piper. I really do like Piper. I'm excited to do her romance route off stream. And with that, she carefully pries herself free of my grip and disappears into the night. They say hunters sleep with one eye open, but enforcers sleep with two, and you don't get as far as Harry without paying full attention. There's no use hating him, not now. I've seen what I need to in order to make my choice. And yet, it still hurts, and a strategic part of me loathes the cold silence I'd given him for an answer. Conscience makes your work hard, Mentor used to tell me, and they weren't wrong. It's always been worth it, though, especially now as I think about Aya, and Piper, and August. Still, they weren't wrong, but there's only one person I truly long to be with right now. I head straight for August's house with haste, noticing downstairs has been left in darkness. The door opens with a simple push, and the dull, inviting glow of candlelight lures me upstairs. I find them sitting on their bed, half undressed, staring out the window, but their expression brightens when I sit beside them and take their hand in my own. Did you tell her? I nod, tracing a soothing touch over the back of their hand with my thumb. I did. She seemed okay, if not a little, well, Piper. August laughs at that, a genuine thing, and it pleases me to hear. I truly do feel sorry for Harry if she ever gets her hands on him. They purse their lips, pondering that thought. Or maybe that would be nice, actually. Their smile is sly, and I lean in to press a kiss to their cheek. They hum their approval, a heavy sigh then falling from their lips when I withdraw. Suddenly, the bruises that I've tried to bury deep throb inside and out. Harry's face, his blithe conviction that this somehow is the right path, the niggling, obedient, insidious doubt in me that whispers that perhaps he's right. Perhaps prices must be paid for our safety. He's the Lieutenant General, and I'm only a hunter. Only a soldier. Nothing has been done yet, and I still feel almost sick to my stomach, but the worry is more muted now, further away. Tomorrow I'll figure it out. We'll all figure it out, together. I shake off my little daze, and I take August's hand, hopeful. Bed? The look that crosses his face is one of barely disguised relief. When I move to pull back the covers, they eagerly crawl beneath them. Thank you for being there, and here, now. Take off my clothes, sliding in beside them. Always. Kiss. We turn to face one another, and I smile as their long hair splays across their pillow like a silver halo. I reach for them, trailing my finger over their cheek, feeling their skin heat in the wake of my touch. Though we're both tired, nothing could stop me from wanting them. We edge closer, and we bridge that, oh no, that's this word again, infinitesimal gap that parts us. Their lips are soft and pliant against my own, and there's no sense of urgency in our movements. Just a slow, sleepy savoring of one another. August commands the candles to die out, and we're left in the blissful darkness. I wish I could turn my lights off with a snap of my fingers. The next morning we meet in the catacombs, aware that's probably the only location in town at this point where Harry cannot have us watched. There's a growing awkward silence between us. August frowning down at their feet with sudden, intense concentration. I almost laughed at the sight of this mismatched group of... Jeez, hold on, let me get a drink and start that out. I almost laugh at the sight of this mismatched group huddled in Finn's quarters, and Finn's eyes are firmly fixed upon Piper, who unabashedly pokes and prods his belongings. She picks up what I assume to be a very real human skull, staring deep into its vacant eye sockets, then smirking smugly at our undead companion. "That's what you use to practice your flirting every night?" Finn grins, shrugging with a cocky kind of nonchalance. "I don't need to practice." Piper scoffs, placing it back upon the shelf. "Sure." August groans loudly. "Alright, can we please get on with this? I can already feel my skin cursing me for spending so much time down in this damp pit." "August, have you seen how pale you are, my darling? I think you'll be okay." Then they all pointedly look at me. I realize that the floor is mine. Right, yes. Omen and Alcar are patrolling the woods, making sure that we know where the best spot to confront Harry will be. Ezra raises his hand, and August rolls their eyes at his politeness. How are we gonna get him to come find you? And how do you know he'll have Aya with him?" Piper's gaze drops to the floor at the mention of her friend's name. "We don't know. It's more of a hopeful optimism." I need to be the one to stop Aya." Everyone looks at Piper. "She was my friend, and I might not be able to save her, but I can make sure it's as quick as possible." August wraps an arm around her shoulder and pulls her close, their embrace quick but meaningful. "We understand. Whatever you need." "And what of us? What do you need us to do?" Before I can respond, August steps forward. "Have our backs if necessary. Other than that, just stay hidden. The last thing we need is to rile him up further by flaunting our alliance with the very creatures he longs to eliminate." Finn and Ezra exchange a look, and I can feel apprehension rolling off of them in waves, but they still nod their agreement. I'll use myself as bait, essentially. I'm sure he still thinks he can convince me to change my mind. He did seem hopeful when we left my office. I subtly take their hand, hoping that my touch might soothe their worry. He can hope all he likes. My decision is final. August smiles at me, gently squeezing my fingers. Then all we need to do is wait and hope that he comes. Finn scoffs, crossing his arms over his broad chest. He'll come. If I've learned anything about Harry in the years I've known him, it's that he never backs down when he has his sights set on something. August sighs, worrying their bottom lip between their teeth. Yes, Finnegan is right, and he doesn't give a damn about the cost, either. That thought has my skin prickling with heat, my hair standing on end. He truly will stop at nothing. James' death proved that to all of us. Then he'll come, and we'll end this. Once and for all. It's dusk in Lunaris. My feet are sore, my eyes tired, and all I can think about is how much I can't wait for all of this to be over. In school, they trained us to kill monsters, and the irony of my current predicament does not escape me. Despite countless hours of training and study, nothing could have ever prepared me to fight my greatest enemy yet, the Lieutenant General of Estria. Harry is the true culprit, and it's so hard to grasp that he's the one responsible for the gruesome murders that brought me here. As I sink further into the town, the feeling of dread that's been a constant in the pit of my stomach since I arrived strangely seems to dissipate. I wander with purpose through the narrow streets, hyper-focused on the task in hand. I'm ready to ensure that this place I've come to call my home is once again safe, and in the hands of those that truly care for it. The only thing that distracts me from such thoughts is the way the sky begins to turn from purple to an inky, infinite black. I turn a corner, and I'm met with the familiar sight of people moving to get inside as darkness overtakes the town. The sound of doors slamming and locking echoes off the crooked stonework. Curtains are drawn, windows closed, and then darkness. Although the stairs are shining brightly at a glance and the crescent moon hangs low, neither offer much light. I think back to the first night I arrived and how much my life had changed since then. A lump forms in my throat as I realize that I've been gifted with what I haven't known since childhood. A home, a family to call my own. So many things have been taken from me, from all of us. I straighten my shoulders, taking a deep breath. No more. Then I think about August, the person who has watched everything they believe in crumble around them, and yet they still stand tall and brave. An unquestionably good person who just need to be shown that they are worthy of being loved. I've never known if certain people are truly made for one another, but when I look at August and I, and how we fit together so perfectly, I can't help but think that we were fated. If anyone dares to take that from me, from us... Determination licks through my bones, and I pick up my pace, boots heavy and loud against the cobblestones. The instincts that have been ingrained in me since my initiation into the order kick in, and I know that I will win this fight. After all, I haven't lost one yet. I can feel eyes upon me, watching, waiting. Though they are kind eyes, the watchful gaze of my friends and allies tucked safely away in the thick forest. No matter how much I insisted I'd be fine alone, the stubborn bastards wouldn't take no for an answer. I stand, and I wait. Think back to my brief time with James, and all I can hope is that I make him proud tonight. Then, footsteps, a rhythmic crunch, crunch, crunch. And there he stands, bathed in darkness, his sharp gauntlet resting proudly atop the pommel of his sword. He smiles. Outlaw, I knew you would change your mind. Let's stay silent and let him speak. I clench my jaw, willing myself to remain calm, to let him think I've succumbed to his desires in the hope that he might reveal a weakness. Your silence speaks volumes. The power that I offer is one of great esteem, something people will envy you for, will idolize. To become a monster. He smiles, stopping his pacing, and he presses a palm to his chest. I swear that no night will be traversed in fear. The morning will be a promise and not a hope. I swear that I shall lay down my life in the cause of my duty, to protect the vulnerable from the creatures of this realm and any beyond it. Till my final breath, I pledge myself to you, body, mind, and soul. The pledge, the oath that we take before consuming the poison they fed us. The words sound so empty to me now that I know what's become of this order. Did you take that oath, Harry? He drops his hand back to his weapon, and he laughs. You know I didn't, for I'm no hunter. I was never worthy, but I've loved a hunter, and I've seen the things they must endure. I almost want to scoff at him, to laugh in his face of his supposed understanding. He may have loved a hunter, but he killed him too. He surveys me for a second, eyes narrowed, and then he inclines his head. So you came to what? Kill me? Arrest me? Killing me would be against your code, wouldn't it? Or are you going to get your dear Augustus to do it for you? I freeze at the mention of August, fingers tight around my weapon, my knuckles bleeding white. Harry notices, and he's pleased with himself. You really think their loyalty, if tested, would be to you, or to the father figure they always wished for? He pouts at me, feigning innocence when he sees the sour look I can't help but offer him. You're as good as dead to them anyway, after all you've done. Pointedly, he chooses to ignore that, instead reaching into his coat and producing a vial. It feels eerily familiar, and the sight of the dark, viscous liquid encased in delicate glass makes me feel sick. He holds it high, gazing at it with unabashed fondness, shamelessly proud of his nefarious creation. To think he would willingly deny such an honor, I'd give anything to be able to take it. The moonlight hits the glass, and the liquid more black than the red I remember. My stomach churns. It would kill you. He sighs. It would, wouldn't it? For a brief moment, I think he might greedily swallow it down, and instead he tucks it safely back inside his coat, patting the fabric tenderly. Now, I have things to do. Let's just get this over with, shall we? Final chance, outlaw. Join me. I don't need to hesitate in my response. Never. Calmly, he smiles, flexing his gauntlet. A wounded noise rings out around us, something broken and terrible enough to make you want to cover my ears. A shame. You would have been magnificent. The sound his sword makes as he draws it from his sheath is cutting, and the impressive weapon glows to life, emanating a bright, golden light. A mental reminder to ask August if they knew about that little surprise. He's faster than I expected, and now I finally get to see the infamous prowess of Harold Addington III up close. I parried his heavy blows with relative ease, trained to anticipate every move things far more cunning than him might make. This sentence is kind of weird. I wonder if he's underestimated me, like all enforcers do of their hunters. Then, out of the corner of my eyes, I see her, Aya. Branches twist and snap against the weight of her misshapen frame as she pushes through the brush, her maw wide and vicious, snapping as she struggles forward. Harry could catch me off guard, could see my momentary distraction as the perfect opportunity to strike me down, but he stops, staring me down with wild eyes. She's beautiful, isn't she? I feel drawn to her, an almost undeniable connection, but something is distinctly wrong. I can feel the lingering threads of her humanity, the hunter within her, and though its stink sings to me like a prayer, it leaves me feeling sick. There's something about seeing her, that makes my blood turn cold in my veins. I try to remain unaffected, but confusion and anger twist in my gut. She's a monster. Harry narrows his eyes at me, fingers tight around the hilt of his sword. She's so much more than that. She evolved far beyond the other subject. She's outlived him, too. Though, I assume Azazel would have lived as long had you not killed him. With that, he lunges forward, and we begin our dance once again. I'm fighting a man I do not want to kill, no matter what crimes he's committed, for I'm not the monster he wants me to be. I need to subdue him, and fast, because in my peripheral I can see Aya lurking, and I know that Harry doesn't have any semblance of control over her. She could turn on either of us at any moment. Then, when Aya does set her crimson eyes upon Harry and I see daggers glint in the moonlight. Piper's daggers. She tears from the forest with a battle cry, heading straight for the misshapen creature. She meets each of her lazy attacks with unbidden power. I try not to let myself become distracted by them, knowing Piper can handle it. Aya isn't one of us, not anymore. The hunter and human within her long dead. All that remains is a husk, all thanks to the man who stands so boldly before me. So you did bring your friends. I knew you wouldn't face me alone. I scoff, wiping sweat from my brow with the back of my hand. I see now that you've gone first to fight alone because you want us to be disposable and forgettable. You called me here to turn me into a monster, but instead, I made Lunaris my home. That must really piss you off. With clenched teeth and a growl, Harry's carefully crafted composure withers and dies as he hurls forward. He lunges, the tip of his blade pointed towards my chest, and I shift to parry his attack. Within that second, however, his body pivots, and I see him aim in his misdirection. Quick thinking on his part, but I must be quicker. Sharp steel hums as the clash of my weapon against his own, and I can feel the oppressive weight of his desperation, trying to bow me down. As soon as I force him back, he strikes at me again. His attacks seem to be without pattern, like a random, unguided flurry, but in those eyes I see a man with deadly calculation. Each blow given means to take a tendon, a weak point, a place not always vital but just enough to keep me from fighting back. Harry believes his already lesser, and therein lies his hubris, his weakness. You can see his confidence soar with every blow that barely finds its intended spot, and he seeks to overwhelm me. I'll continue to enjoy letting him think he can. cast Piper a glance when I can. The cacophony of battle all around us numbs my ears, so I can still hear her, see her, and feel the thrum of angry adrenaline coursing through her. That's all unlike my own, and like her, I trust my instincts to guide me. Purposefully, I let my stride waver, become almost haggard, fearful even. I adopt a stance that tries to let the predator think he's weakening his prey, and Harry catches the bait like a moth to a flame. He smirks, another blow. Come now, Hunter. You made for such a good show before. Don't falter now. Is that what you think? I thought you better than this. How disappointing. I force him back again, and though I make him believe he has the upper hand, Harry is a force to be reckoned with. He mimics the same attempt he made at the beginning, sword to chest, but this time with intent. He doesn't change his direction, and there's renewed force behind it. The blow rattles my bones when the attack connects with my weapon, and his sword reverberates with magic enchanted into its steel, Harry using the presser to force me down. His concentration, all pitched against my weapon-wielding side, allows me an opening. Though Harry may be strong, he doesn't account for me being able to hold him back with one arm. My free hand reaches for my concealed dagger, the one given to us by the Academy during initiation, and I seek to implant it in his side. To my surprise, Harry releases one hand from the hilt of his sword, stopping the dagger and fork to meet a vulnerable point between his ribs. He grimaces in pain when the dagger's edge slices against his palm, deep crimson slick on silver, and yet he still grips it with fervor. His body trembles, but he grins at me despite it all. Close. Stars flicker behind my eyes when Harry headbutts me, a sickening crack, and I stumble away from him, struggling to regain my footing in the dizzying haze. I barely have time to register his next attack, and the downward swing of his sword knocks my weapon from my hand. He connects a quick kick to my sternum, and I fall to the dirt. I see the man I'm supposed to call my leader giving himself a moment to relish his triumph. He observes the dagger that bloodies his hand and huffs a tired laugh. It would have been ironic if I was the one to give this to you. He discards it with a shrug and walks towards me, a death knell. He truly means to kill me. Suppose this will have to do. With renewed confidence, he swings his sword with a flourish, a fluid movement that shows his weapon is just another part of him, and now it rushes for me. I breathe deep and try to regain lucidity, but it won't be enough. Just as this blade is about to meet me, it's repelled with a brilliant flash. That haze, the smell, and that aura fill my senses, and I know exactly who it is. Augustus. Harry strides backwards as August stalks forward, crafts of magic snapping at him with palpable intensity. He forces back the attacks with the enchantment upon his blades, but it cannot stop the overbearing force that shocks his body each time they wield their power upon him. I watch Augustus gracefully turn their pain into fury, magic leaking across their skin as they weave spell after powerful spell to combat each with whippy blows while I regain my footing. Their body shakes with lingering static as they finally relax, eyes aglow in the darkness. Harry spits blood, finally faltering to the onslaught, and his body gives way, falling to his knees. August then appears at my side, frantically scanning me for any injuries, but I wave them off, adrenaline still coursing violently through my veins. I'm fine. Are you sure? I nod, turning my attention to Harry. He kneels in the dirt, his dusty black coat pooling around him, his right hand red with blood. His breathing is labored, but I know we didn't harm him enough for there to be any immediate threat to his life. The blood that covers him now is mostly not his own, but Aya's. I glance over at the heap of blood and bones that was once our fellow hunter. Piper kneels beside her, and Ezra holds her tightly as Finn watches in silent support. I see Omen and Alcar emerge from the forest, and the tree line, a litany of glowing red eyes, the clan. The pain and suffering in this clearing alone is enough to make me furious, enough to warrant this man's death, and yet... He looks up at me with his piercing blue eyes. Just do it. August rests their hand upon my arm, but I don't want to meet their gaze, afraid of what I might find. Outlaw. I stare down at him, my lieutenant general, and I remember the taste of it. The vial cold in my palm, a gentle, encouraging smile from them force who hand it to me. A child so eager to please and feel loved after being taken from their family. Magic and the blood of other, foreign things coursing through my body, seeping and sinking deep into my bones like an incurable infection. I said my vows and took my oath, and I became theirs. I've been faithful to their cause, all of us has, and this is where it ends. This is where I break it. End of chapter 9. Chapter 10, The Quiet. Whew, that was an intense one. No matter how long I live, there is one sight, one moment that I could never erase from my mind. Harold Addington on his knees, covered in blood, asking me, no, begging me to end it all. My whole body trembles with the effort of my steps as I follow August into the depths of the dungeons. I'm exhausted, beaten, and bruised at the hand of the person who dragged me into this mess, the man who vowed to protect me, to protect us all. August and I do not speak. In fact, I don't think I've spoken since the enforcers burst from that clearing and grabbed their leader by his shoulders, yanking him away from my weapon. Would I have finished him had he asked again? Had I had the chance? I suppose I'll never know, but the anger and hurt I feel is stifling, almost suffocating. August pauses before me, their long fingers curled around the bars of the door that separates us from the line of cells, and they take a deep, shuddering breath. I'm almost scared to look at him, because I've seen them cry enough for one lifetime. When they finally do speak, their voice is quiet and strained, almost broken. I cannot promise I'll be of much use. It's okay, August. I step forward, my hand hovering at the base of their spine, almost scared to touch. They turn their heads slowly so that they could sense the promise of the warmth of my palm. You've been through so much. I'll try my best for you. With the small smile they offer, I press my hand against soft fabric, feeling their warmth through it, sinking deep into my bones. We'll get through this. We've been through worse, right? They scoff and nod, drawing in a serrated breath and letting it out slowly. Then they push, iron scraping across uneven stone as we enter. Every enforcer that lines the seemingly never-ending corridor stands to attention when they see August. It's now that I realize with Harry chained in a cell, they're the most senior officer in Lunaris. That thought calms me somewhat, to know that I'm amongst all this chaos, that we are now in the hands of one of the people I trust the most. Capable hands. Even if it is temporary. The loud click of their heels resumes as they stride past the dungeon guards with purpose, but their eyes are still down, not a trace of the usual authoritative way that they hold themselves. I follow dutifully, a slight limp to my step, every muscle and bone in my body protesting as I move. I can feel the pull of dried blood upon my skin, not entirely sure if it's his or mine, but I know that he got more than a few hits in on me. I should probably see Ezra soon. August approaches the head guard that is stationed opposite Harry's cell. Has he been in any trouble? No, General Wilhelmheim. Lieutenant. However, he has been, talking to himself. August nods at her, trying to face me and running a hand over their face, exasperated. Let us just get this over with. August's steps falter as they draw near to the final cell where the man they once viewed as something akin to a father is contained. I can hear him whispering, his voice soft and lacking the venom that it was seeped with just hours ago. I swear I hear him utter James's name. August closes their eyes, dropping their chin to their chest. They must have heard it too. I wonder if his fallen husband is really with them, or if he's finally, truly lost his mind. Again, August takes a deep breath and looks to me. I nod, stepping closer to show my support is unwavering and that I'm here, and we approach the bars together. Harry falls silent. He's stripped of his weapon and his enforcer attire, left in nothing but muddy trousers and a blood-stained shirt. Somehow, he still manages to look refined, even through the bruises and cuts that blur his handsome face. Sorry, I had to sneeze. He sits with his back against the wall, his knees drawn tight to his chest, arms casually slung over them. The golden glint of his wedding ring catches my eye as he twists it around his finger, the sight making my chest hurt even after all he's done. His cheeks are ruddy, the dirt and blood that is caked upon his skin streaked with tear tracks, now dried. I'm glad that it's you, Augustus. August clears their throat, their hands curling in a fist. What makes you think that I will show you mercy? Harry stands, the movement clearly a great effort for him. He grimaces as he straightens up, watching us watch him as he approaches the bars, and his demeanor shifts to something more familiar, something hardened. You are a worthy opponent, outlaw. I haven't heard like this in decades. I ignore him, giving August the floor. I will ask again. What makes you think that I will even show you a sliver of mercy after all that you've done? Harry curls his fingers around the bars, his face half illuminated by dull candlelight, half bathed in shadows. He looks older than I remember, tired, defeated. He studies August, his eyes flickering over their features. 'Cause you're no murderer. August's knuckles bleed white where they continue to ball their hands, and it would appear that they don't have a response for him. I step forward, as close as I can without the worry Harry might try something stupid that would result in him receiving a broken arm. And what about me? Am I a murderer? Harry smiles smugly. If you were, we wouldn't be standing here having this conversation, would we? You had your chance. You hesitated. Hunters do not hesitate, outlaw. Just because you're a monster doesn't mean I am. He sighs, leaning forward and pressing his face between the bars. Oh, but what a wonderful monster you would have made. It's such a shame you're unwilling to even listen to the offer that I could have made you. I still don't understand what you hope to achieve. After all your failures, the lack of control you had over those beasts. Harry chuckles, pouting. Augustus, do not speak ill of your subordinates. Be quiet. Magic skitters across their skin for the briefest moment, a flash of indigo that lights up the dark space that surrounds us. Harry doesn't flinch, doesn't so much as blink. You don't get to do that. You don't get to speak of them as if they were anything other than disposable to you. August turns to me, their expression softening. The decision is yours. He doesn't deserve to have me show him any mercy, therefore his fate is in your hands. They pause, as then they walk away from him. Leaning against the wall that separates his cell and the next, they're out of his sight, but I can see them clear as day. Let's save. My heart pounds against my ribcage, protesting the choice August had just laid into my palms. But I'll take this burden from them because I love them. Because I do not want to see them hurt, no matter the choice, because every single one will sting. I nod at them, and Harry's smile fades. How poetic. The one that I called here to serve as my greatest creation is the one who finally decides my fate. I watch the bob of his throat as he swallows, his eyes fixed upon me, and only me. I don't think he'll win his trial, but I'd hope he wouldn't win his trial. I will say this is kind of interesting because last week I played through just out of curiosity. I said yes to his offer. I did a real quick playthrough of no romance interest, and I followed Harry every step of the way. And when you get to just choice, you get the choice to execute him or put him for prison and life. But this one, we're getting the choice to grant him a trial or life imprisonment, no trial. I don't think granting him a trial would draw everyone's This is a hard decision. I can't say the justice system in America is great, but I don't know what the justice system in this game is supposed to be like. Condemn him to life imprisonment and give him a trial. The first option. I can truly see no option where everyone wins. If I sentence him to die, I'm as bad as him. He killed people, yes, and his actions are unforgivable. To kill him would be a crime in itself. It is not only something that my name would forever be associated with, but something that would hurt August. I find myself thinking of James, too. Though he wanted Harry brought to justice, he would not want harm to come to him. Not now we have him. What? I'm sure we'll have to come up with some story about why the widely loved Lieutenant General of Eskria has stepped down from his post. Having to explain why his head is no longer attached to his body would be a little trickier. To tell people what he's done would only scare them, and they are scared enough by the inhuman things that walk the earth that we're sworn to protect them from. We need them to trust us, not to think that the ones who guard them can hurt them too. You'll remain in chains for the rest of your life. You will get no trial and no chance to explain or redeem yourself. Out of the corner of my eye, I see August turning and walking away. I listen to the echo of their steps getting quieter as they disappear before I look at Harry again. Harry looks at me as though he's almost disappointed. Is that it? I gather you wanted me to kill you, if what you said back in the clearing is anything to go by. I will not give you what you wish for. Instead, you will live a miserable life of solitude. Maybe I'll give you a chance to think about all the things you've done. I turn away from him, readying myself to walk out of those dungeons and never see his face again. We all have to live with the consequences of your actions. So shall you. As I begin to move away, I hear a loud bang, fists hitting metal, then maniacal laughter. A sound that follows me long after I push open the exit door and feel cool air upon my face. I find August in their office standing before the window that overlooks Lunaris. The town is peaceful at this hour, the townsfolk tucked safely in their bed. I carefully slide my hand into theirs, lacing our fingers together. Can we not talk about him, just for tonight? I smile, squeezing their hand. I was gonna say, unfortunately we will have to talk about him at some point, Lieutenant. August grimaces, but I see a smile curling at the corner of their lips. Temporary, Lieutenant. Don't get too excited. When the other higher-ups arrive to assess the situation, I may very well be out of a job entirely. That'd be a crime in itself. You've done more for Lunaris than Harry ever did. You will do more. They hum quietly before turning to face me, taking my other hand in theirs. Are you scared for what's to come? August contemplates that for a moment, albeit a brief one. Then they shake their head and smile. It's bright. Tired, but bright. I've been so scared for so long, ever since I left home. Even before that. Scared that I'd be stuck teaching horribly pompous ritual witches in the academy and listening to my parents tell me I'm mediocre. Scared that Lunaris would swallow itself whole before I could do anything to stop it. And then you came along and changed everything. August, I wish I knew from the first moment that I saw you how irrevocably you would change my life. I find it so hard to be scared with the person who saved Lunaris standing by my side. The person who made me see that I am so much more than I thought I was. So, no, I'm not scared. I'm excited. Because no matter what happens, I have you. I find myself lost for words, just lost in August, and the very new, very real promise of a future together. I've wandered Espria for so long, never knowing what path my position would take me down. I think back to that letter I found upon August's desk on that lazy morning not too long ago. And in you I finally found a home. Their eyes widen, their own words repeated back to them causing a flush to creep across their cheeks, and then they smile. Finally. The moment that word leaves their lips, I close the gap between us. Their hair is silky as it snarls about my fingertips, their skin warm, but it's the softness of their lips as they meet mine that ensures any and all coherent thoughts flee from my mind. We stand here and kiss for what feels like hours, but in reality, it's just mere moments. When we break apart, August is smiling, as am I, and we just bask in each other's presence for a moment before I start to feel a bit lightheaded, actually. August frowns, taking my face in their hands. You need to see Ezra. I'll have him called. How do you know I'm not all weak in the knees because of that kiss? The look they give me tells me that maybe it's best not to joke about my health right now. Ezra, yes, sorry. They press another quick kiss to the corner of my mouth before they head for the door. As their hand touches the handle, I call out to them. August. Yes. I love you. They exhale, offering me the brightest, most beautiful smile I think I've ever seen. I love you too. And then I'm left standing alone before Lunaris, before my home, strangely excited for what the future holds. 3 months later. I wake to warm toes pressed against my calves and an arm slung over my bare waist, long fingers twitching against my skin. Bliss is what this is. and it's mine when I get to live every single day for the rest of forever. August's eyelids dance in their dreams, and they seem to sleep so much better with me around. Sometimes they even get a full 8 hours. Sometimes. Sunlight streams through the expensive curtains, dust motes swirling over the bed, and I smile. What are you grinning at? I look down at where they're resting their head against my shoulder and press a kiss to their forehead. They smell like comb. Just thinking about how lucky I am. August yawns and stretches their long limbs, nuzzling a little closer to press a kiss to the curve of my jaw. You and I both. But today is important, so get up. I laugh, groaning in distress. Obviously romance isn't going to get me off that easily. Don't you want to stay like this for a little longer? August sits up, much to my distress, their warmth stolen. Their robe falls off their shoulder, and I wonder if the universe is trying to tempt me. Then they give me that look, the one that sets my hair standing on end. Get up. August is extra bossy when you live with him. I like it. Today is a big day for both of us, which is probably why they have an extra side of sass. Today is the day we both officially become Lieutenant General. Me of the Hunters, a new position dreamed up by August, Piper, and I, and August, of everything, of Eskria. I couldn't be prouder. I can tell that they're nervous to have the weight of the world upon their shoulders, but they try their hardest not to show it. Instead, they take a seat at their desk just as they do every morning, opening their diary and writing, smiling to themselves as they do so. I leave them to it, fussing in the closet to gather some clothes and a towel. Outlaw? I pause, turning to face them before I push open the bathroom door. Yes? I watch the bob of their throats as they swallow, their demeanor shifting, their voice strangely timid when they next speak. Are you afraid? Just a little. I stand there like a lackwit and contemplate life for a second. Am I? I'm not sure. A little, I think. August sits down their quill and wrings their hands. Are you? They frown, staring out of the window. We have nothing to fear than the creatures. Not anymore. You're right, and we've been through so much. Plus, they look me over, their eyes sparkling with curiosity. Plus what? You were made for this, August. They stare blankly at me for a moment and they smile. It's wide and beautiful, almost blindingly so. We both were. A moment of silence passes between us, and I can't help but stare. Think of how far we've come, of all the things left behind, of how much I love them. Set my clothes aside and head for them. I grab their chair and turn them around till they're facing me, taking their chin between my fingers. I stare them down, studying them. The flush that paints their cheeks darkens under my heavy gaze, their eyes shifting from blue to violet, the slightest sparkle to them. Then I kiss them, sinking my hands into soft hair and letting the strands snarl around my fingertips. Make a quiet, relieved noise against my lips, opening their mouth to me, our tongues slick and hot as they find each other. August whispers my name between kisses, and their head falls to the side when I kiss along their jaw, down the column of their throat, over the sharp relief of their collarbones. I sink to my knees, ready to worship them, to pray at their altar, but they growl. When I stop and look up at them, they're smirking. We don't have time, as much as I do love to see you on your knees. Woo, spicy alert. I slide my hands up along the silk-smooth skin of their thighs. Another growl. Curse you. I laugh at the sorry look they throw me. They're torn between wanting to let me make them feel as good as I know I can, and doing the right thing and being on time. I know punctuality will always win, but how about we kill two birds with one stone, Lieutenant? A compromise. I offer them my hand, tipping my head toward the bathroom. As a hunter, it's imperative that I ensure I'm able to multitask. Oh god! Alex's brows climb towards their hairline. For a moment I think they might scold me, but they grin instead. I'm nothing if not fully supportive of your improvement. Lead the way. Though my head is relatively clear, I decide to go for a little walk. I've been back to the scene of my clash with Harry a few times now, mainly because I hope that I might get to speak to James again, or maybe just to have a sign that he's still here, that he's okay. I think of him often, and I believe he was there with me that night, a lingering presence that pushed me to win, to not give up. I still can't help but wonder what he thinks of Harry now. Is he really there in that cell, talking to him on that day? Or maybe he's finally passed over from whatever in-between he was stuck in. I hope. It's summer in Lunaris now, but there's still a chill in the air, and the grass is crisp beneath my boots as I walk into the clearing. Maybe it's just the passing of the seasons, but it feels like life is breathing back into this small town. Everything feels easier. Harry still resides in the dungeon beneath Lunaris, serving out his sentence in the place he tried to destroy amongst people he tried to ruin. Long gone are the enforcers who insisted him, regardless of if they claimed to have been coaxed or threatened into helping. There are no excuses, not for what they did. I'm yet to visit him again. Maybe I never will, but I know August has a few times. They pity him, I think, even after everything. I don't question them on it. I take a deep breath, crashing down to press my fingers to the still scorched earth. Apparently things don't grow back. They've been touched by August's magic. I decide that this is the last time I'll come here. It feels freeing. On my way to visit Ezra, I decide to stop by the Ibeck to check in with our favorite creepy duo. Aurora has laid low since Harry's downfall. She's probably thoroughly disappointed that I didn't succumb to his nefarious plan and turn into an unidentifiable monstrosity. Maybe she would have thought it charming, or maybe even wanted to date me. Not at all strange or unnerving. I walk towards the dais, the air a little warmer here than I remember, the sun shining through the cracked windows and illuminating the lectern. There stands Ambrose, as coy as ever and quite obviously making a point to avoid my eye contact in hopes that I'll not notice him, I assume. Hunter Princess? Hello, Ambrose. He takes a deep breath and steps into the aisle, his hands clasped politely in front of him. Can I help you with anything? I shrug, not really knowing why I'm here. I was just passing by. Is Aurora about? His mouth twists, his pale blue eyes darting to the side. Considering his sister is so very good at not giving anything away, Ambrose has absolutely no subtlety about him. She left. Left? Left where? He tilts his head, making eye contact. Left Lunaris. I see. Any particular reason? He sighs and gestures for me to follow him. We sit in the pews in the first row, and Ambrose leans back, tipping his head and gazing up at the dome ceiling. I imagine it was so beautiful here once. Then he sits up, fixing his jacket and frowning, twisting slightly to face me. I've dutifully followed my sister my whole life, you know. We lost our parents to vampires at 14, but even before then, Aurora was fascinated by creatures. She would sneak out at night and seek them out in the graveyard behind our estate. I began to lose count of how many times I saved her, always dragging her out of the way of claws or teeth. They didn't try to kill you, your parents? He shakes his head, looking down at his hands where they rest in his lap. They didn't get the chance. Hunters came not long after they rose from their graves. Aurora was there. She saw everything. She truly believed that they wouldn't have harmed her. So that's where Aurora's resentment comes for us, I suppose. I almost pity her. Almost. You never seem to be on board with her beliefs. Why continue to follow her? Ambrose laughs. It's a pleasant sound, and he looks like a different man, lighter somehow. I've never had anyone else. I love my sister Outlaw. Despite her eccentricities, I never wanted any harm to come to her. I'm a patient man, and I would follow her to hell and back if I required. But, he laughs again. Ah yes, but I've always wanted my own life. I have that now with Elaine. His pale cheeks turn bright pink the second her name leaves his lips. It's adorable. You're in love with her. He nods, his mouth curling to his soft smile. I'm going to ask her to marry me. I'm going to ask Satan's daughter to marry me, and I told my sister, and she fled town. Can't help but laugh. I feel impossibly rude the second the noise erupts. I cover my mouth with my hand, but Ambrose is laughing too. You think she'd be thrilled to have the Princess of Hells as her sister-in-law, wouldn't you? You would, yes. But then, my sister's always been full of surprises. She'll be back, though. We've never been apart for more than a day or two at most. I think she's just reassessing her life and choices. Hopefully. Well, I'm happy for you, Ambrose. Just please don't start trying to terrorize our nice, newly peaceful town, okay? He blushes again, nodding as if I wasn't joking. Well, kinda wasn't, I guess. I swear it. Both turn at the sound the entrance doors creaking open, and there stands Elaine, silhouetted by sunlight. Look at Ambrose and the way his face lights up, and the way he quickly stands and brushes non-existent dust from his trousers and tucks his blonde hair behind his ears. outlaw. It's lovely to see you. The demon offers me a curtsy, and I smile sweetly, but her brown eyes flickering curiously between Armros and I. She missenses his mood and places a delicate hand upon his arm, which he immediately covers with his own. Where is the Aurora army? Ah, well, I said that's my cue to give them some privacy. News that Aurora fled will be startling, but I imagine his proposition will be even more so. I have to go. I need to prepare for tonight. Armros nods in silent thanks. I wish you well. Do stop by any time, won't you? And I'll branch, maybe in the start of a new relationship between us and whatever's left of the Ibeck. I'm interested to see what it'll become under Armros' lead, if it'll become anything at all. Goodbye, and congratulations. Omen tells me that you're transforming later. New beginnings and forms are always wonderful. I stifle a smile, assuming that both her and Omen still have the wrong idea about what this ceremony entails. I do hope he isn't disappointed when I don't sprout wings. Thank you, Elaine. Armros. I feel their eyes upon me as I leave, though for the very first time I feel it isn't out of scrutiny, but likely for the polite peace they need before excited anxiety blooms between two lovers. When I step into the street, Omen immediately appears, whipping around to face me, his movement so sharp that I have to step back and raise my hands warily. I have no doubt he would never hurt me, but still. Not that it takes words or even hunter's senses to see the demon prince is well rattled. There's a sharp pinch to Omen's brow, and flame wisp trails at his hair. Noticing me staring, though, some of that fades away. Omen smiles sheepishly. Sorry. A respectful distance away, Alcar shorts and straightens from where he's been leaning against the wall. He gingerly pats Omen on the back. It's fine. Are you alright? Oh, this outfit's cute. Part of me wonders if it's another earth-shattering problem about to roll into town, and I'm definitely not fucking ready for that. It would certainly be poetic to have my promotion crash right here and right now, but I don't want to be caught between the next big thing and Augustus' rage if the ceremony is postponed. My unease must have been evident, because even as Omen opens his mouth to answer, Alcar laughs. Elaine's getting married. What? More detailly, Armros will do that thing mortals do. Propose. Yes. Oh, that. It occurs to me that maybe Elaine had been speaking to Omen about it before she arrived at the Ibeck. Clearly he's not half as excited about the prospect as either Armros or his sister. Omen wrings his hands together, and I'm not sure how I feel when I realize he's more worried than angry. She will say yes. It's a very exciting thing for her, I'm sure, to enter sort of a contract with a human, but humans are not good with promises. Not to say you're not, outlaw. Behind him, Alcar rolls his eyes fondly and shakes his head. He places his hand on Omen's shoulder, reassuringly, and I do the same on the other shoulder. I give Omen a solemn nod, because honestly, it's man's honor that I vouch for Armros at least a little. Elaine is in good hands, Omen. Good, careful hands and a heart. I haven't forgotten the sliver of her true power she permitted me to glimpse in the Ibeck that day. And I have a feeling Armros knows exactly what he's dealing with. Armros is no fool and would never undervalue an oath. Or a pact. In fact, I'm sure he's well aware of what he's getting into. Trust me, I've interrogated him enough to know. Besides, it would be unlike Elaine to involve herself with someone who's even remotely ignorant, yeah? Omen sighs, and then he gives me an inquisitive look. You and Elaine have talked much then? In a sense. She had thoughts that she shared with me. Of course, it isn't her I worry for. She is capable, and as you said, not likely to care about ignorant mortals. I nod sagely, though I must confess, it's nice to know after everything Omen seems genuinely concerned for Armros' well-being. That he seems genuinely concerned for humans, period. I'm sorry. It's a big shaken. He glances at Alcar uncertainly, who purses his lips in thought. Big shocker. Yes. But don't mistake my alarm for unhappiness or disapproving. Maybe this is the best way. Elaine and I shared many things. Our histories, our lives, our souls once. But it's rare for her to engage with mortals as I do. Omen frowns at me, inclining his head. But I take it you'll watch them. Yeah. There's little use lying about it. Shrewd as it is to say, I'm glad that the Princess of Hell has decided to pick a man right under our eye to involve herself with. And not just in our own defense. Hunters live by our blades, but living is so much more than killing and dying. This peace we forged together, kept together, I want to preserve it. Outlaw will be watching all of us, and honestly, I think you got your work cut out for you, Lieutenant General. I'm not Lieutenant General yet. In some hours you'll be. Glad it's you. After all, imagine what it would have been like if Piper got it instead. Now that's a thought, though I'm sure you're glad that isn't the case. She'd have done fine. She cares about this town, its stupid problems, more than she makes it sound like. We've all been here anyway, Alcar nudges Omen, and the demon blinks and shudders as though waking from a dream. There's a shift in the air around him that I notice, the same sense of movement like when somebody snatches back their hand. You're talking with Elaine? Yes. He sighs and wrings his hands together again. She wants my thoughts on things. I need to talk to her as soon as possible, immediately. He stares into the distance, then clasps his hand over Alcar's, still resting on his shoulder after all this time, and slips away. I will see you later, okay? He sketches a short but graceful bow, then walks briskly to the nearest alleyway. I shake my head as his presence retreats with supernatural speed. As soon as he's gone, Alcar chuckles. Betcha anything's Elaine gonna rope in and helping her pick color themes for the wedding. Good for her. My entire department will have a meeting tomorrow on how to handle this goddamn beloved miraculous town chock full with wonders such as not one, but two powerful demons among other things, one of whom is going to get married to a human, and one that once helmed a cult against our kind. Fucking Linares. You can imagine how not happy August will be to hear about it, but what can you do? What can a Lieutenant General do indeed? I look up to see Alcar watching me. His smirk only widens to a grin though, and he inclines his head, wolf ears twitching. You're going before Willenheim tears down half the town looking for you for being 10 minutes late. Oh, most certainly. See you later, Alcar. Aye, General. Alcar walks backwards until he too disappears the way Owen went, giving me one last shit-eating grin and that ever-endearing half-arsed wave. Ezra's shop is busy, a line of townsfolk impatiently waiting outside. I decide to sneak in the back door to avoid unavoidable conversations. In the kitchen, I find Finn and Alcar arm wrestling. I literally just saw you. Alcar quickly turns his head and frowns at me. What about it? How do you get here so fast? He ignores me, concentrating too hard on making sure Finn doesn't snap his arm off, I assume. I roll my eyes and pull up a chair to join them, smirking as I watch Alcar's arm shake. Finn quirks one of those dark brows at me and winks. He always insists I use my prosthetic. Silly, don't you think? Alcar growls, his face turning beet red with the effort. Shut up, mosquito man. I'd win in a second if you used your normal one. Finn and I share a knowing look seconds before he slams Alcar's fist into the table, the fine china upon it clinking loudly with the force. There might even be a dent in the wood from the impact. 4-0. Wanna go again? He wiggles his iron fingers, the magic of the arm flickering teasingly. Then Ezra appears, his arms folded across his chest. I don't think I've ever seen Finn move so fast. Hey, what have I told you two about this? No arm wrestling unless it's in the wolf. They won't let us. Oh, really? I do wonder why. He pointedly looks at the ridge in his lovely little table, then back between the wolf and the vampire. No, more arm wrestling. Don't you have some important vampire business to attend to, Finnegan? And Alcar, well, I don't know what you could possibly have to do, actually. Alcar huffs and puffs, sliding down his chair and crossing his arms. Finn sidles up next to Ezra, grinning as he reaches for his face. Angel, I was just keeping him out of trouble. Ezra narrows his eyes at him, but his body language betrays him as he greedily leans into the vampire's touch. You're both as bad as each other. Finn presses a kiss to his cheek, and Ezra can no longer stifle his smile. He turns his face and lets Finn capture his lips in a quick kiss. Alcar groans, making loud rushing noises as he stands, his hair scraping across the tiled floor. I'm definitely fucking going if they're doing that. Finn throws him a deathly glare that makes him wither as I stand to address Ezra. Seems busy. Do you need any help? He quickly shakes his head. No, you have enough going on today. Go. I'll be fine. He gives Alcar one final cursory glance before he parts the lavender curtain and disappears. Don't you two actually have somewhere better to be? They look at each other and shrug exactly at the same time, Alcar waltzing over and prodding Finn's chest with his thumb. Mr. Walking Combustible here can't go to the wolf till the sun goes down, so no. I need better friends. Less flammable ones who don't ruin my drinking time. Finn swats him away and growls, but suddenly seems to egg Alcar on. I actually do have somewhere to be, so sorry, but I can't babysit you. You're as boring as you are old. Whatever. His tail swishes behind him as he makes for the door, sending Finn scrambling to the corner, away from the sunlight that streams through the gap. Later. Prat. I tilt my head and grin at him. Do you actually have somewhere to be? He smiles. Nope, just gonna go home and find something fancy to wear for your special moment. Will it have buttons? Most definitely not. After Ezra's, I headed home to get changed into my new uniform. Never had to wear one before, and I suppose I don't now. But I want to show people who I am and what I do, to show them that I'm here to protect them and that I'm proud to do so. August decided to redesign our sash. It's blue to represent stability, trust, wisdom, and most important, loyalty. So, as I walk through Linares bathed in black, gold, and sky blue, I feel a sense of renewal, of change, and pride. There's people setting up outside headquarters for the ceremony. Hunters and enforcers pour out of every room as I head down the corridor towards August's office, all of them with smiles plastered on their faces. I gently tap on the door and it immediately swings open. Piper's standing there grinning at me, dressed in her new uniform. Well. Piper snorts and does a little spin, showing off. Ooh, looks very pretty. You like it? I step inside, closing the door behind me. You look amazing, General. Then I see August. Oh, shit. They appear from behind their desk, and suddenly I feel both horrendously underdressed and hopelessly, maddeningly in love. Ooh, don't they look nice? This is a very cute fit. Sorry, I'm just looking at it for a sec. Which, of course I am, but holy shit. I'm quick to make my way over to them, my mouth probably hanging open and catching flies, but I absolutely can't help it. You look incredible. Actually, there are no words that could accurately describe how you look. They grin, their cheeks turning pink as they set down the report they're holding. Hi, thank you. I feel weird, almost like I don't deserve it. Piper groans behind me as she loudly falls into a chair, August glowing daggers at her when he puts her boots up onto the desk. August, despite your many flaws, you're show-stoppingly gorgeous, and you know it. Let your lover tell you how beautiful you are so we can get on with this. She gestures wildly as the many sheets of paper that adorn their desk. They raise an accusatory brow at her. At least outlaws that swatted my epaulets like a cat, I suppose. Piper snorts. Yeah, those things are begging for it. You have them too. She looks down her shoulders, poking the silver tassels and looking thoroughly unimpressed. They're not as fancy as yours. Clear my throat, trying to snap myself out of my little stupor and thinking how thankful I am that Piper is here. If she wasn't, we'd never make it on time, not with him looking like that. Right, yes, we should finish this thing. Before I step away to join Piper around the other side of the desk, August grabs me by the arm and tugs me near, flush against them. They lower their voice, their blue eyes dragging over my forearm like a caress. You look incredible too, Lieutenant. Then they let go of me, as if they haven't just set my heart racing. Come on, lovebirds, we don't have all year. I steel myself and take a seat beside Piper. August leans over and pushes her boots off the desk with a raised brow before they lay out a set of papers in front of us. We need to come on an agreement on all this, and fast. I have an hour until my speech, and I'd quite like not to fuck it up. Piper rests her elbows on her knees, chin in her hands, and she squints down at the pages of elegant script. You know what I don't agree with? Everything else is fine. August and I share a look. They seem almost sad, knowing which thing Piper disagrees with, and knowing that I don't exactly feel much excitement over it either. I speak before they get the chance. The initiation is essential in ensuring our survival. The initiation is barbaric and needs to be changed. I think the second one. cannot continue to mutate innocence. We need to find a new way to defend Destria. August glares at me, but I continue. Would I have known what they were doing to me, I would have refused. August, I appreciate that you think it's necessary, and I know that doesn't come from a bad place, but I don't have the right. I could never understand how it feels. Witches are born with their magic, and it's not inflicted upon them. They sit in their chair and run their hand over their face, tapping their finger against their lips. And if Harry could find a way to manipulate it, then we can find a way to as well. We both look at her like she's lost the plot. She huffs. Oh, fuck off. You know what I mean. I'm not talking about making monsters. I'm talking about finding a way to make us strong without making us monsters. How? But wouldn't they have already done that? Piper bursts out laughing. August finally stops tapping their lip and raises their brow at her. You really think they do some actual work and research when they have what they need already? No way! They get free blood from the monsters they kill, and they get their little army of mini-monsters too. She's right. There must be another way. Piper, clearly ready to violently refute whatever they say, sits slack-jawed. Do you agree with me? August shrugs. I don't exactly like the idea of extra work. I don't exactly thrill at the idea of all the extra work it would bring us, me specifically, but it would be worth it. Worth making sure that what we do is fair and ethical, or at least as much as it can be under such extreme circumstances. I agree. We are fighting a war and must do whatever we can to ensure our survival. That doesn't mean we should sacrifice our humanity to do so. With that, August sits back down and pulls a clean piece of parchment from their drawer. They pick up their quill and begin to write. When they're finished, the three of us sign it, and a new rule is born. We'll do whatever we can to leave behind the barbaric ways of our predecessors. Piper rubs her hands together almost greedily, and I'm beginning to think she's lying about not liking this diplomatic bullshit. She's good at it too. Now, our second task, the creatures. Our relationship with them right now is perilous at best. Even the ones that bring no harm don't really like us that much, and are more than essential to our survival as an agency that actually succeeds. Can't blame them, really. Terra's out there kidnapping and killing even the good ones. Outlaw, what do you think? We need a stronger alliance. I definitely don't think we should distance ourselves. There's no question about it when it comes to our relationship with the creatures. We have to do everything we can to fix the fractures Harry caused. Like you said, they're essential. Then, I pause, carefully considering my next words. Have you ever thought about having creatures working within the agency? They both stare at me like I've lost my fucking mind, just as I expected them to. You're saying we should stuff some lichens and some demons in our uniform and off they pop? You're mental. August says nothing and just keeps staring at me. I know it sounds ridiculous. There are creatures out there who want peace just as much as we do. Creatures who have enough power to actually convince others of their kind to join us, or leave us alone. As a representative, maybe, not a new branch, just creature relations. Someone to be our liaison when required. Piper looks like her eyes are going to drop out of her skull. She has them so wide. I cannot believe you're actually thinking about this. She doesn't sound angry, just tired. I get it. It's not ideal, I know. But if we can find other ways to lessen the attacks on our kind, then why the hell not? We just put strict rules in place and ensure that they have too much to lose if they betray us. August eyes Piper, who has fallen strangely silent. I think she knows that this will be good for us, despite her personal views on the matter. She nods. I'll sign. August offers her a small smile and picks up their quill. We all sign once again, ready to tackle our final conflict. Now we discuss you, both of you. Piper and I share a glance, and she sits a little straighter in her chair. I think that sometimes Piper truly does forget how important August is about to become. Hunters have long been governed by us, the enforcers. I personally feel like that is unfair, because what the hell do we know about putting our lives on the line, right? You know. They look at her, tilting their head in question. You know, August, you never gotten your hands dirty more times than any of those other pencil pushers. I'll never have a better partner, or you've gotten your hands dirty more times than any of those other pencil pushers. Aug's expression softens. They almost look like they might cry, or at least think about crying. I had no idea you felt that way. Piper scuffs her boots on the floor, looking anywhere but at August. Yeah, well, after everything that happened, I blocked it out. I'm sorry, Piper, about all of it. I promised to do better by you, which is why I'm proposing that we create a new hierarchy, or rearrange our current one, at least. Many enforcers aren't fit to dictate what higher-ranking hunters do. They're more concerned with politics than they are with the safety of our people. Take those decisions out of the hands of those who value bureaucracy above all else, into the hands of the ones who are literally created to know how to save lives? Within reason, yes. I'll need you to consider this a little more carefully. It's complicated, and I'll value both your inputs. Sorry, I was moving so my cat could get up here. Piper grins at me. Can't believe it's taken the agency this long to realize this. Yes, well, a fresh start. Now we should go. They'll be waiting for us. August stands and fixes their uniform, fiddling with the end of the braid. They're nervous. Hello, Ohio. How are you? I go to them and tug their hands away from their hair, lacing our fingers together and squeezing tightly. They squeeze back. You were made for this. Savor it. Angie, yeah, I read about your job situation. That sounds very annoying and stupid. I just don't want to let anyone down. His shadow lingers over me. No, it doesn't. None of them know what he did, and they won't either. As far as they're concerned, this is a natural progression, and it is. Despite all that Harry did, it would still be you standing up there if he stood down gracefully. Piper creeps closer and rests her hand upon August's shoulder. Outlaw is right. You deserve this, and I can't imagine it being anyone else. August inhales and exhales. They smile and release my hands. Let's go. It passes in a blur. I watch Piper get her title back, the highest-ranking hunter in Lunaris, after me. She smiles the whole time, staring out into the crowd as they cheer for her. She's given extra honors for involvement in the Harry investigation. None of those people who clap and grin for us know what really happened, but they don't care. All they care is that they're safe. I step up to the podium and listen to August talks, but it feels like I'm underwater, like everything is muffled and far away. A few weeks ago, when I was told I'd been offered this position, August pulled me aside and asked me if I won the responsibility. I asked them, why me? I expected them to shrug and respond with, why not, but they didn't. They said that Harry targeted me for a reason, for my stats and my kill count, that August began to see from the moment we started working together that Harry had it all wrong. That I'm so much more than the strength I have and the lives I take, and that Harry never accounted for all the human parts of me. That I'm determined, that I want to fight to survive, even when the odds are stacked against me. That I am human above all else, despite the inhuman blood that runs through my veins. So, as August pins that badge to my coat and ties my sash around my waist, I remember those words, and I smile and wave at the gathered crowd, swearing to protect them no matter what. I see familiar faces out there. Finn, Ezra, Alcar, Raven and Lux. Even Edla left the wolf to grimace at me from afar. I made Lunaris my home somehow, after never really having one before. Before either of us can be swept away by the crowd of eager townsfolk, I quickly take August by the hand and usher them into a quiet corner just outside of headquarters. They sink back against the wall, melting against the stone. Thank the stars for you. I laugh, feeling as relieved as they look. Can I steal you away, Lieutenant? Absolutely, as scandalous as it might be. I'd rather not spend my evenings shaking hands with people who loathed me only months ago. Ah, but you have a pretty coat and an important name now. They grin, their brows rising. Still your boss, you know. You can't sass me too much. I shrug, taking their hand and lacing our fingers together. But I do enjoy it when you get annoyed. August rolls her eyes, but they lack any true exasperation. Come on, I want to do something normal. The second I place the glass of imported red into August's hands, they become a different person. My person. The one I know from sitting in front of our fireplace at home reading terrible, smutty romance novels and laughing until wine comes out of our noses. They're in their element out here amongst the colorful stalls and twinkling lights, and happiness looks good on them. As we walk and eye the goods on display, August nudges me with her shoulder, tilting their head and looking at me like I hung in the moon. Thank you. This is nice. I'll normally sleep before the inevitable madness never hurts. They sigh, but they're still smiling. I'm excited to be busy again, especially now that I sleep well. Come to a quiet corner where the crowd thins, a spot for sitting and talking, and August stops dead in their tracks, setting their glass aside. I look at them sometimes and can't believe they're mine. Aw, how cute. Think about how far away they are from the overworked enforcer I met back in Ezra's shop all those months ago, and my heart soars. There's so many things I love about August, but the most important thing is how they've come to see how truly special they really are. Can you believe that this is Lunaris? How happy everyone is. They gesture to the smiling faces that surround us, and everything feels like it's fallen into place. They're free now, all of them, us too. A blush kisses their cheeks, from cold or the wine, I'm not too sure, but it's stunning against their pale skin. I watch them take it all in, the warm glow from the lights that surround us making them smile, shine. There are violets in their eyes when they look at me. We're gonna smooch. I take their hand and step close, brushing my lips over their knuckles. They watch me with a raised brow, that trademark expression that others may see as smug or cold, but I know August's warmth. It seeps from their every pore, as fierce and as free as their magic. August is lightning, and they are mine. Kiss me. I don't hesitate. I find myself smiling somewhere between the soft curve of their mouth and the sweet press of their tongue. Ah! Their clever fingers curl on the front of my coat, and I swear that lightning flashes somewhere in the distance, my perfect storm. I've never had anything that felt as much as home as them. Whoa. The citizens of Eskria remain in the dark about what happened to their beloved General Addington at August's request. To tell them what he did would be to stoke his ego, and the strides the newly reformed agency makes to fix his broken regime far overshadows the whispers and rumors. Harry remains in prison, but he insists he is happy thanks to the company of his beloved James. It is unknown if his husband truly does communicate with them. The guards who watch the disgraced former lieutenant say those conversations are too heartfelt to be all in his head. The War of Woodwidge was never seen again in Lunaris after her disappearance. Armist insists he does not know where she is, but he suspects that without him there to save her, she likely succumbed to her overly curious nature. Not many believe his statement, simply assume he's protecting her. He doesn't exactly seem upset or eager to discover what became of her. Oh, no! Go back! After receiving an official pardon and a full apology from the agency for his branding, Alcar continues to rub the honor of getting to hear the authorities admitting that he was wrong in the face of any enforcer who bothered to pick a fight with him. Luckily for our parties involved, Omen's wise counsel and some cajoling from the hunter have Alcar reining in his more mischievous ambitions. According to some grumbling in Lunaris, however, the two are as often partners in crime as they are in each other's voices of reason. Piper enthusiastically flung herself back into work after her reappointment as Hunter General and continues to enjoy being a beautiful thorn in August's side. Her main priorities are now to focus on training new recruits in her own modest words to make them even half as good as me. She often takes the Hunter for drinks with the Wolf, hoping that Edna will give him a freebie. Finn and Ezra remain together after the Hunter's gentle push for reconciliation. Ezra's shop continues to flourish, and he even begins to consider working with the enforcers again thanks to some careful coaxing from August. Finn and his clan do their best to keep the borders of Lunaris safe with the full support of the agency, and both he and Ezra remain Lunaris' favorite supernatural duo. As newly appointed Lieutenant General of Eskria, August quickly sets out to fix all the cracks that Harry has left behind. With their love and Piper by their side, for the very first time, August feels like they can change the world. Lunaris thrives under their rule, and if pressed, August will probably proclaim that it's down to the Hunter that stands at their side, helping them find their true worth. The end. Wowie zowie. Well, that's the end. Oh, I'm supposed to save. Let's save here. This is very good. I liked it a lot. All these pictures. I'm gonna do the other romance routes off screen, but I enjoyed it a lot. I'm bad at talking about why I like games other than me like game. Today was a pretty short stream, but I just wanted to get that finale out of the way. I'm hoping to stream for longer for the rest of the week. So on Wednesday and Thursday, I'll be doing Pokemon Platinum at 8 p.m. And on Friday, more Donkey Kong at 12. And on Sunday, we're going to be doing more Pokemon to make up for Monday's stream. Thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a good night. Bye!